السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Welcome to the deep dive, where we really try to get under the skin of a topic you're curious about.
Yeah, aiming for that deep understanding, those aha moments, without, just drowning you in data.
Exactly. So today, we're venturing into the world of shepherding. We've looked at a really fascinating mix of material you shared with us.
We have. And we're going to unpack it all from the really tough daily grind and the skills needed, right through to how modern tech is changing things, its history, the spiritual side even, the economics.
Maybe some practical tips, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pointers for anyone thinking, maybe this is for me. Get ready for some surprises, though. It's definitely not just fluffy sheep in a field.
Okay, let's dive right into that demanding side first. Yeah. You have this image, maybe peaceful pastures, but the reality sounds like seriously physical work based on our sources.
Oh, absolutely. The workload is, it's taxing, really taxing. Think about trimming hooves.
Right, on potentially hundreds of sheep.
Exactly. If you don't do that regularly, you get infections, lameness, and for the shepherd, hours bent over doing careful work.
Ensuring, that looks exhausting.
It is, often twice a year, incredibly physical. And then lambing season. That often means sleepless nights, helping with births, maybe in terrible weather.
Yeah, it's not exactly a neat 9-to-5 schedule, is it? The hours are long, totally unpredictable sometimes.
Completely tied to the flock's needs. Lambing, moving pasture. Forget regular downtime during those peak seasons.
So physical work, crazy hours. What about the environment they're working in?
That's another huge challenge. They're out there in, everything. Driving rain, snow, intense heat, often with no real shelter nearby.
And they're constantly protecting the flock.
Constantly. Predators are a real threat. Coyotes, wolves, even eagles in some places.
Yeah.
Plus just accidents on rough ground. It demands, constant vigilance.
And there's an emotional side, too, isn't there? Something people might not think about. Dealing with loss.
Definitely. Our sources really highlight that. You invest so much time and care, you form a bond, and losing animals, it's emotionally draining. Really tough.
And the isolation.
That's a big one, too. Shepherding often happens in pretty remote places. That solitary work can lead to loneliness, mental fatigue. It's a far cry from that romantic image.
Okay, and what about the sort of economic and social side? Pay, job security.
Yeah, the info we saw suggests the pay is often, quite low, and job security can be a real worry. Plus, in traditional communities, getting the skills and, the respect, that can take decades, a long apprenticeship.
Wow, decades. That's a huge investment.
It is, and it's not just about wandering around. Herd management itself is complex. You need a sharp eye for health, understanding grazing needs, managing the land.
Preventing overgrazing and stuff like that.
Right, it takes a deep understanding of animal behavior, land management.
And the sheepdogs.
Yeah.
So iconic. But training them?
Takes a massive amount of time, consistent effort, or, a big financial investment if you buy a trained dog.
Yeah.
It all just shows how multifaceted, how demanding this job really is.
So given all those challenges, how does someone actually become a shepherd today? Are there different routes?
It's interesting, yeah. We're seeing more formal training programs pop up, which is a positive thing.
Right. Not just learning from your family anymore. Switzerland, you mentioned. The Valais Canton.
Exactly. They seem to have a pretty structured approach, like 3 theory modules in a classroom.
Okay.
And then 2 practical internships out on farms spread over maybe a year or 2.
Yeah.
Sounds like a solid foundation.
It does. A coordinated effort.
Yeah.
Government, schools, aiming to professionalize it.
Yeah. And then you've got places like the Shepherding School of Catalonia. Different approach. 2 months intensive theory, then 4 months really hands-on living and working on farms.
And they have a good success rate.
Apparently, yeah. Something like 80% of graduates find jobs in livestock farming. That really says something about how effective that kind of focused training can be.
That's amazing. It shows that shift, doesn't it? From informal family learning to actual structured opportunities for people without that background.
Yeah, Catalonia even gets students from other countries, so there's this wider interest, not just local.
And these programs are looking for more than just practical skills, right? Certain qualities.
Definitely. Patience, obviously, lots of it. Perseverance for the tough conditions, responsibility for the animals, keen observation skills.
Spotting problems early.
Exactly. And just a genuine interest, a passion for animals and nature. You can teach skills, but that core dedication, that's harder.
Makes sense. And with predators returning in some areas, that deep traditional knowledge, how to protect the flock, read the weather, spot disease that's becoming crucial again.
Absolutely vital. It can literally be the difference between making it and, well, not making it.
And it's good they often have support systems built in, like help finding land or jobs.
Yeah, the Catalonia School does that. Land access help, job placement, business advice, even marketing support for things like artisanal cheese or wool.
Yeah.
That kind of wraparound support is invaluable when you're starting out.
Sounds like a really proactive way to keep these skills alive and maybe help rural communities too.
Definitely, especially with aging populations in farming areas. Okay, so let's shift gears quite a bit now. Spiritual shepherding.
Right. The idea of religious leaders as shepherds for their congregations. A powerful metaphor.
Very powerful across different faiths. We saw material mentioning Pastor Dag Heward-Mills.
Yeah, emphasizing the need for a genuine desire for the role. He quotes the Bible, 1 Timothy, about aspiring to be an overseer, being a noble task. It points to that inner calling.
Yeah, and he draws parallels, doesn't he? Like someone wanting to be a lead surgeon, not just an assistant. He suggests people shouldn't shy away from aspiring to pastoral leadership if they feel that call.
And Alex Strauch's work breaks down the responsibilities. It's clearly more than just Sunday sermons.
Oh, way more. Strauch outlines 4 key roles. First, protecting the congregation.
From harmful influences, like bad theology.
Exactly. Harmful ideas, things that could divide or mislead, needs vigilance, strong grounding in the teachings.
Okay, second.
Feeding them with the Word of God. But he stresses it's not just talking at people, it's presenting truths in ways that engage, challenge, really nurture spiritual growth.
Thoughtfully done.
Right. Third is leading, providing directions, solutions to challenges the community faces, having a vision, addressing needs, guiding the church forward.
And the fourth role.
Healing, the pastoral care side, counseling, being there for life events, weddings, funerals, supporting people through tough times. It's really comprehensive.
And training for that. Less formal programs, more mentorship maybe.
Yeah.
Like Paul and Timothy.
The sources suggest mentorship is key. Yeah. Personal guidance, discipleship. But it's also pretty likely that theological education, practical ministry experience would be essential for such a complex role.
What strikes me is the connection between these two types of shepherding the livestock and the spiritual. There's this shared core, isn't there?
Yeah.
Dedication, serving others.
Absolutely. Putting others' needs first, animal or human. It involves sacrifice, hard work, definitely.
And both need continuous learning, adapting.
For sure. Traditional shepherds face environmental changes, predators returning. Spiritual shepherds navigate, changing cultural landscapes, theological questions. Neither role is static.
And the community impact. Traditional shepherding supports rural economies, the environment. Spiritual shepherding addresses spiritual social needs.
Yeah, and that idea of generational renewal we saw in traditional shepherding, making sure skills are passed on. That mirrors the need for ongoing leadership development in spiritual communities, too.
Okay, let's swing back to traditional shepherding, but look at technology. You wouldn't immediately think high tech, but that seems to be changing fast.
It really is. Robotics, automation, showing up in surprising ways, like these digital shepherds.
Vitirover robots, what do they do?
They manage vegetation, basically, in vineyards, solar farms. Autonomous robots using GPS controlled remotely through platforms like VitiCloud, sending back real-time data.
Wow, a robot mower, essentially, but smart.
Kinda, yeah. And the potential environmental pluses are interesting. More targeted vegetation control, maybe less need for herbicides, less soil disturbance. Good for sustainability.
And drones.
Yeah.
For herding. Sounds like sci-fi.
A bit. But research suggests they can guide sheep ethically, using specific sounds, controlled movements, potentially less stressful for the animals than some traditional methods.
Interesting ethical questions there, though.
Definitely. And then there's precision agriculture more broadly. Wearable devices for sheep.
Like Fitbits for sheep.
Sort of. Monitoring vital signs, activity, behavior in real time. Let shepherds spot problems early, even remotely.
That early detection could be huge for welfare. And the data side. GPS tracking, sensors.
Yeah, giving insights into grazing patterns, pasture conditions, predicting optimal grazing times, helps make smarter land management decisions, more sustainable ones.
Right. And breeding tech.
Also advancing. Genomic selection analyzing DNA to find desirable traits like disease resistance or better wool. Lets you breed more selectively.
And artificial insemination. Embryo transfer.
Yeah.
Propagating those good genes faster.
Exactly. And it all connects back to sustainability. Those robots, precision grazing, reducing overgrazing, maybe even helping manage wildfire risk by controlling dry vegetation.
But adopting all this tech. It's not simple, right? challenges.
For sure. Farmers need to learn new systems. There are costs, training involved, and those ethical questions about automation and animal welfare need careful thought.
It's a fascinating evolution, though. This ancient job embracing cutting-edge stuff.
It truly is. Which kind of leads nicely into thinking about the deep history and symbolism of it all. It's more than just a job, isn't it? It's an archetype.
Yeah, prophets in Islam, Christianity, many started as shepherds. Why was that background so common?
Well, the sources suggest a few key things. One is just the patience and compassion it teaches. You're dealing with animals that need gentle guidance, understanding.
Right. Easily stressed, wander off.
Exactly. So you learn empathy, leading with mercy, not force. That translates powerfully to leading people.
And the practical skills, too. Ensuring safety, finding food, resolving disputes, even in a flock.
Yeah, all directly transferable skills for leading a community, a spiritual group. Safety, sustenance, growth.
And the simplicity, the humility of it, connecting with nature, being grounded. People like Muhammad, Moses, David, Amos.
Seems key. Fostered modesty, relatedness to ordinary people maybe, less caught up in, worldly status.
Plus, just dealing with different animal personalities must teach tolerance.
You'd think so. Anyone who's been around animals knows they're all unique. Good training for dealing with diverse human communities.
And the symbolism is so strong. Sheep as humanity, needing guidance, protection. The shepherd is the leader, the protector.
It really adds a whole other layer to understanding those historical figures and texts, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Speaking of symbolism, there was that hadith about sheep being the best wealth in times of trouble, allowing someone to flee to the mountains for their faith.
Right. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. And the interpretation is really insightful. It's often seen less as literal advice, go buy sheep, and more as a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
For seeking refuge in a simpler, perhaps more self-sufficient life when society gets chaotic or morally iffy. It stresses keeping your faith, your core values, even when things around you feel like they're falling apart.
So not necessarily heading for the hills with a flock, but finding an inner refuge, focusing on what matters.
Precisely. Prioritizing faith, peace, essentials, when the outside world is complex and maybe troubling. Timeless wisdom there.
Okay, let's bring it back to the practicalities today.
Right.
What are the actual pros and cons of being a shepherd now?
Well, on the plus side, that deep connection with nature is huge for many. Outdoors all day, often in beautiful, remote places. That can be incredibly rewarding.
And the environmental benefits. Managed grazing, helping biodiversity, maybe reducing fire risk.
Yeah, responsible shepherding can do that. Dispersing seeds, controlling vegetation. And it's a way to produce food, milk, meat, wool, often with a lower environmental footprint than intensive farming.
Gives a sense of purpose, too, maybe.
Yeah.
Caring for animals, contributing to rural life, that heritage.
Definitely. That cultural, historical significance is strong. And in some places, it still provides vital economic opportunities, helps keep rural areas alive.
But the downsides are significant, too. We talked about the physical demands.
Intense. Long hours, heavy work, physical strain. And the isolation we mentioned, that can be really tough.
And the working conditions themselves. Extreme weather, limited amenities sometimes.
Yeah, facing storms or heat waves with maybe just basic shelter, limited access to things. It's a genuinely hard way to make a living.
Plus the emotional toll. Losing animals you care for.
Incredibly difficult. And then the economic realities, often low pay, job insecurity, big drawbacks.
And the risks. Predators, accidents on rough terrain.
Always there. It demands resilience on so many levels. Physical, emotional, financial. It really attracts a certain kind of person, someone who values that connection to nature and tradition despite the challenges.
So paint us a picture. What's a typical day actually like for a modern shepherd?
Yeah.
Probably not just leaning on a crook watching clouds.
Probably not. Based on accounts, it starts early. Head count, checking every animal, any illness, injury, new lambs, especially during lambing.
Okay.
Then feeding, fresh water, especially if they're not on lush pasture, and getting them out to graze, making sure fences are secure, daily basics.
And supervising the grazing isn't passive, right? Midday stuff.
No, you're actively watching, preventing overgrazing, stopping them straying. Plus, maintenance tasks often happen, then fixing fences, moving temporary ones, checking water troughs.
Do they get a break?
Often, yeah. Especially in the heat, sheep might be brought into shade. Gives the shepherd a breather, too. Then, afternoon, often another grazing session, maybe more detailed health checks, hooves, looking for parasites, general condition.
And evening, getting them safe for the night.
Absolutely crucial. Rounding them up, securing them in night pens against predators, final checks, making sure everyone's accounted for. Then the shepherd can finally rest.
And this changes with the seasons, obviously.
Big time. Summer might mean moving to high alpine pastures. Winter, maybe more feeding on hay or crop leftovers. And some still practice transhumance, those long-distance moves following grazing. Incredibly demanding.
It really highlights the constant challenges, weather, predators, just the sheer labor. But interesting how environmental stewardship is becoming more integrated. Rotational grazing, solar fences.
Yeah, it's that blend again. Ancient skills meeting modern awareness of ecological balance, sustainability.
And speaking of modern AI, how is artificial intelligence starting to play a role in sheep welfare? Sounds pretty cutting edge.
It is. AI enables this thing called precision livestock management. Basically using tech to monitor health much more closely and use resources better.
Like those wearable sensors we mentioned.
Exactly. Biosensors on the sheep collect data, heart rate, temperature, movement. AI algorithms analyze it to predict health problems, sometimes before you'd see any symptoms.
Wow, catching an infection early like that. And things like infrared imaging, analyzing behavior from GPS data.
Yeah, all feeding into these AI models. Game changers for preventative care. Plus, AI helps with precision feeding
Tailoring diets.
to individual sheep. Yeah, based on their age, condition, needs. Reduces waste, ensures optimal nutrition. Automated systems can even adjust feed amounts based on real-time data.
Personalized meal plans for sheep.
Amazing. Kinda. And AI analyzes behavior too, using computer vision, machine learning. It can spot subtle signs of stress or discomfort that a human might miss. Lets farmers intervene faster, like an AI reading sheep body language.
Fascinating. And it helps with sustainable grazing too.
It can. AI models analyze pasture growth, predict forage availability, help optimize grazing schedules. Good for the sheep, good for the land.
And spotting environmental stress, like heat stress risk.
Yeah, using sensor data temperature, humidity, allows for proactive steps to improve conditions.
Even AI drones for delivering treatment.
When tested, yeah. Delivering targeted meds to individual sheep. Less stressful than handling, more efficient. Overall, AI data analytics gives farmers much deeper insights for better decision making across the board.
Sounds like it has huge potential to boost welfare, not just productivity.
Definitely seems that way. So if someone listening is actually thinking, maybe I could do this, what's the practical advice? First steps.
Well, step one seems to be prepping your property. Good, sturdy fencing is non-negotiable. Keep sheep in, predators out, simple shelters for bad weather, and a reliable source of clean water.
Okay, basics covered. Then learning about the sheep themselves.
Essential. Understand their diet needs, how to do basic health checks, spotting illness, and building that trust, that bond, especially ewes and lambs.
Choosing the right breed is important early on too, right? Wool, meat, milk.
Crucial decision. Different breeds suit different goals. And the consistent advice seems to be, start small, learn the ropes with a manageable number before scaling up. Don't buy off more than you can chew.
Makes sense. And record keeping.
Absolutely vital from day one. Tagging sheep, tracking lambing dates, weights, health treatments. Good records are key for managing the flock effectively long term.
And just learn constantly.
Yeah. Read books, find mentors if you can, maybe take courses or workshops, get theoretical knowledge and practical, hands-on experience, and think about sustainability from the start. Rotational grazing, eco-friendly practices.
Sounds like it takes patience, commitment to learning, and real dedication to the animals and the land.
So the million-dollar question, or maybe the not-so-million-dollar question, can you actually get rich being a shepherd? What's the financial reality?
Yeah, the info suggests probably not getting rich for most people through traditional shepherding alone. Average income tends to be fairly low. The demanding work, remote locations, limits other income streams. Job growth isn't huge either.
So, not a get-rich-quick scheme, but are there ways to improve the bottom line?
Seems like it. Diversification looks key. Producing high-quality niche products, premium wool, artisanal cheese, organic meat can fetch better prices.
Value-added stuff. Branded products, maybe?
Exactly. Turning wool into garments, milk into specialty cheeses, that boosts income potential. And ecotourism is another angle.
Like shepherd for a day experiences, farm stays.
Yeah, attracting visitors interested in rural life could be a good supplementary income. So while it's likely more a modest, sustainable lifestyle, entrepreneurial thinking, diversifying, that can definitely improve the financial picture.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear shepherding is incredibly multifaceted, isn't it? This blend of ancient ways and really cutting-edge modern tech.
Absolutely. It's full of challenges, definitely, but also profound rewards. And its significance echoes everywhere. Practical farming, spiritual symbolism.
And whether it's looking after a literal sheep on a hillside or guiding a community, being a shepherd seems to demand this unique mix: skills, dedication, adaptability.
Unwavering dedication, yeah.
Yeah.
And the needs of whatever flock you're tending.
So for everyone listening, as you think about all this, the connection to nature, the responsibility, the history, the tech, what aspects of shepherding really resonate with you? And what other questions does this spark for you to maybe explore further?
We hope this gave you a much richer, more nuanced picture of what it means to be a shepherd in all its forms.
A man was in court for stealing 100 sheep. The judge asked, "Why did you steal those sheep?" The man replied, "Your Honor, I didn't steal them. I was just counting them in my sleep." That's it for this episode of You Heard It Here First, where the grass is always greener and the sheep are always sassier. If you got a laugh, learned something new, or just enjoyed the sound of sheep puns, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps more folks flock to the show. Until next time, keep calm and herd on. Beat starts, slow country rhythm with a drop incoming. Yee-haw, shepherds in the pasture. We out here with the flock, no time to mock. Bow, drop that fleece, DJ. Wub wub, bow wub wub moo. Wait, who let the cow in here? Sheep panic noises. Bow, bow. Auto-tuned TTS voice. Step aside, shepherd coming through. Staff in hand and Crocs in sport mode. Squeak squeak, Crocs activated. Sheep voice. I didn't choose the pasture life. The pasture life chose me. Mick drop by. Bow boom ass. Music cuts to silence. TTS whisper. Like, comment, share. Or the sheep get sassy.